Thumbnail is, or we're going live.
Well, you're live now, so don't say anything you'd regret or don't want streamed out on the internet.
What I say, so that won't be a problem.
Gentlemen, how we doing?
Oh, well, I'm very well, thanks. Yourselves? Well, good.
Actually, I'll change the speaker. I'm sure it's all inclusive.
What time does Sue get in the morning?
7:30 usually. Sorry, 1 minute here.
Good now.
We're ready.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the October 10th, 2019 Board of Education meeting. Call this meeting to order. Mr. Scarsapino, please call the roll.
Mr. Violi?
Here.
Mr. Kelly? Here. Mrs. Baba?
Present.
Mr. Gibson? Mr. Grimm?
Here. Please stand and join us for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
CJ, anyone signed up for public comments this evening? All right, we'll turn it over to Alex.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the live broadcast of the October 2019 board meeting. As always, it's being held in the Deffer Intermediate Cafeteria. Toss it right back over to you, Mr. Good.
Thank you, Alex. At this time, I'd ask for, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the minutes from 9/12/19 as submitted.
Move.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Mrs. Baba?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to Superintendent's report. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. I'd like to begin by asking Mr. Isle, our Director of Curriculum Instruction. He's going to give us a brief overview of our district professional development day that will be held this coming Monday. I didn't put the stool over there.
That thing bends down too.
Man, how long have you been here?
Too long. I'm joking. So Mike and I, we had a chance to share a bite to eat before the meeting, and we got to talking about my excitement, our excitement for the Professional Development Day. I know that was on the books, on the calendar last year. It was kind of sneaking up on us, and it's going to be Monday. And I just need to say, as far from an academic standpoint, there are times when we don't really spend as much time talking about the great things that are going on academically here. And I'm just so pumped about our plan for the day on Monday. We're going to revisit the curriculum audit that's we funded last spring. Dig a little bit deeper into the data that we've already been collecting on the students. Teacher-based teams and departments are going to be meeting together, working on things. It's just overall comprehensive, really specific to the needs of each teacher and each of the buildings, and it's going to be a really good day. I'm not responsible for planning much of it, but there's been a whole host of team members doing things. Mr. Johan Hansen has got a great plan for the transportation department. They're going to be doing a little bit of rodeoing over at the annex with 53-foot buses. He told me do not park close to there because they're going to be doing a lot of backing. I don't know what that means really, but I'm super excited for that. So just a short snippet that although the students aren't in school on Monday, and that's the main thing that we want to be doing is working with kids, we're really just super thankful to our community for giving us this time to meet together and work on developing ourselves professionally and making ourselves better. So on Tuesday, the children arrive, we'll have some new ideas in place and get rolling towards achieving everything that our children want to dream. So it's my little 2-minute update. Any questions for me or
Questions about the PD day on Monday? All right, Matt, thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
So Matt's going back. So Andreas, they're doing a bus rodeo. Darlene has the kitchen staff engaged in some purposeful learning as well. So those folks are pulled off to the side. Our secretaries, we're going to meet. I'm going to actually Sue, my secretary, and I are going to meet along with Pam Beach and Eileen Curtis to meet with all of the district secretaries on House Bill 410 and the new requirements of House Bill 410. That's attendance. So we'll be spending a few hours with them. I felt it was important enough that I'll attend that session with them. Also at the high school, we're going to be working with our teachers on a lot of things that Matt talked about, but also we're going to be working with our middle school teachers and high school teachers talking about how the PSAT links to your SAT at the high school and also very much aligns with your end of course exam. So there's going to be some vertical teaming of that as well. So we're excited about it. Matt has put a lot of work into it. He really downplayed that. I think the man has lost some sleep over the last few weeks trying to pull all the moving pieces together. He's done an outstanding job for his first PD day that he's been responsible for. And so shout out to Matt. But we've got a great day. So if you guys are available, you just want to walk around the different buildings, there'll be stuff going on in every building. So feel free to just pop in and take a peek. A lot of good stuff going on. Any questions about that? All right, so moving on, just a really quick, two quick updates, and then I'll conclude my report. We are beginning the process. I've been in this chair 7 years now. 7 years. You remember the first year we purchased 5 buses because our fleet was so dilapidated, and this board I asked for, and you committed to purchasing 2 buses every year, and we've done that, and we currently have 13 newer buses, and we've gotten onto a program now where we're going to recycle buses quicker and keep newer fleet. And so I've given Andreas the nod to contract through OSBA like we did last year, as a nominal fee of a couple $100. They're going to put together the bids for us, and we're going to go out to bid on 2 new buses. So we're going to get those going earlier this year. Because it usually takes about 4 or 5 months to get the buses. And I'm actually hoping that we can get them a little quicker if we go stock buses. And stock buses, we put out a bid. Companies will think there's usually 3 companies that return the bids to our specs, and then they can provide alternate bids saying these are the buses we have in stock, and here are all the different things that you want, and then here's a couple things that you didn't ask for. So we usually ask for this. The stock buses usually just come in right under it, and some of the enhancements that are missing are not enough to not accept stock buses. The reason I want to go with some stock buses is to get those here quicker. Because we still, even though we have 13 newer buses, we still only have about 3 reliable sub buses. So that's why I really want to get these. Oh, I'm getting 2 now, 2 reliable buses, because we still are suffering from the other end of our fleet that's during the 17, 18, 19-year-old. Those buses between rust and engine wear, we're still hurting. So actually kudos on that, where we'd be right now. And as a quick reminder to anyone that's listening, or I already know you know this, all these buses have been purchased through permanent improvement dollars. No general fund dollars, all permanent improved dollars. So, and we will purchase these 2 buses through our PI funds as well. So I just wanted to give you that update. I'm hoping to have bids probably December that we can accept. If it moves like I think that probably you'll approve bids in December, and we could have those buses as quick as February if we get stock buses. And we're going to do the transits again too. We're going to do the long transit buses.
We're going to see what Doug happens monthly, actually.
Outstanding.
It'll be either 2 transits or 1 transit and 1 with possibly a transit that has a handicap lift.
All right, questions, board? And then,
I do. Do the cameras and everything from the old buses transfer over to the new bus? Is that how we're doing it?
They do. You
go
want?
ahead, answer.
They do if it works. If we have another bus with spare cameras on it. So the 3 that we traded in this last year, 2 of them didn't have a camera system because we had sort of already moved them. So we moved the 1. And then on the 2 new transits, they're quite a bit longer than the other ones. And so we chose, I think I shared that before, we chose to install a 4th camera because at 3 cameras is not enough to sort of cover the whole bus.
And then to add on to what Andreas is saying, Brian, we're talking about the possibility of adding stoplight cameras. So
that was my second.
So that if a car, when that stop sign goes out, we have a big problem with buses blowing through the red lights.
No buses, cars.
Cars.
That's right, cars blowing through the buses red lights. Thank you for that.
That's not good.
I mean, that too,
Are
but
not blowing through red lights.
they are not.
Yeah, let's make sure.
We have problems
From the record.
We have problems with cars going through the bus's red lights. So we can add what's called a stop sign or a stoplight camera that's on the arm that swings out and can photograph any license plate as it goes through if someone runs it. They are a little more expensive, but again, when you're looking at student safety, we're going to investigate It's not a commitment to purchase, but we're going to investigate the cost of those, and we may add those on new buses and maybe start working to add those to some of our others. But we're only in the talking phase and the looking phase.
I know that I kind of bring it up because as I'm out at my work, I travel around to a lot of different communities. I know that North Ridgeville and Avon are also experiencing the same issues that are happening almost all over the country. But I really think that we need to put our best foot forward on this, and it needs to we need to stop it here.
We probably have about 10 a day. And working with the police chief, we had one successful citation last week.
Really?
And 2 more in the works. So we've developed a form between the chief and myself that the drivers can fill out. The real challenge is we can't ask our bus drivers to sort of give up the bus in order to chase down a plate. The majority of them happen over on 43. So the 4 that we've turned in already have then sort of, the car has passed and then they catch up with them at the light. And then they literally sit right behind them and they write down the license plate and the red Kia Sedona, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Yeah, after our meeting last month, I witnessed like 2 of them.
Yep.
In a couple of days.
Yep.
I never really noticed it until we talked about it, and then I noticed it more. So.
And the more that information gets put out there too, the more attention it gets, the less it'll happen because people are paying more attention.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's hard to miss a big yellow 53-foot vehicle.
You'd think so, but when you're here,
flashing and a bar that goes out because they stop.
our drivers see a lot of this,
Yeah.
right? So they don't see anything. They're looking at Twitter or Facebook or whatever.
But they just don't want to slow down. It's the
Or-
personality.
yeah.
Just don't. So, Mike, this our bus fleet now. So, what will be the oldest bus that we have? Is this going to?
Right now, I think our oldest bus is,
Our oldest bus about 10 years.
oh, it's more than that.
I mean, once we get these new ones, it'll be 10 years.
Yeah, there's still 3 or 4 that are really
What's
quite
the
old.
useful life of a school bus?
So, that depends on how you use them. Preferably 6 to 8 years, and then you trade them in and let someone else use them.
So will we now be, when we bring all our fleet kind of up to standard, will we be on a rolling schedule to make sure that our buses don't get 10 years old before we start?
We're going to start investigating that, but we still have to get out from under a few of the buses. Ideally, I think Doug Palmer was here last year. He said that ideally a district should really trade a bus in at 8 years because you're going to get the most equity for it and be able to roll over into a new one. I'm not quite ready to commit the PI dollars for that yet because we've got a couple big projects coming up with PI dollars. But maybe in another year or 2, we can make a decision to unload a few buses in that 8 to 10 year range to leverage equity. And that's going to take a purchase of probably 5 buses. And then once you have that, then you can get onto that rolling 8 years, 8 to 10 years. But we've got some big PI needs. Our parking lots we put off for a couple of years because of construction and things. So those are going to be some big high dollar items that we need to leverage. We need to save our PI dollars for, so we don't have to use any of our general fund. So I think once we get through our parking lot project, and there are a couple other big things out there, using those PI dollars, that's going to be a conversation that I'm going to bring to you guys to make a decision.
And I apologize if I missed it. What is the total number of buses that we have?
We have about 25,
Okay.
so 21 are on the road on any
Is there
given day.
any thought to looking at maybe a couple of 4-year-old buses? I don't even know if they even
So,
exist.
yeah, when Doug did our fleet assessment, Doug Palmer from West Beat did our fleet assessment last year for us. Was it last year, the year before?
Yeah, last year.
We met about that, CJ, Andres, and we met about that, and with Doug, and I don't think it would be cost effective for us to do that. We need to continue on the cycle that we're on and purchase new when we can. And then, like I said, once we get through that big PI dollar purchases with, especially with the paving projects we need to happen district wide, I think that it's going to be affordable to purchase enough buses, trade in enough to get our fleet to where it's at so we can get on that cycle. But after looking that over from what Doug showed us, we made the decision, CJ and I, we're not going to buy used buses. We're going to just keep buying new. And
because then
Yep.
that life cycle becomes shorter.
Yep.
And then the dollars go quicker. It's not a long-term sustainable program. We're trying to sustain our fleet long-term and have a program to do so. So every year, Mike and I meet, we discuss PI dollars, and we discuss long-term PI dollars as well, and try to come up with what we can do. Now, obviously, things happen within a year that you don't expect, right? The boiler goes down, or this goes down, big dollar items, and we always try to allocate some funds there. The good news is if we don't use some of the emergency funds that are allocated, they just swing out to the next year and you start building a little bit of a savings in your PI for some of these bigger projects and for some of these things where maybe you have to purchase 5 buses or so. We're just starting that, right? Like, so, 2018 is when we started really hunkering down on that type of thing. So we're going to continue to try to build that. No different than our general fund, we do levy dollars that we pass, which you've been hearing from us. But they're really on Brian. I don't think there's value for girls.
Just a suggestion.
No, I understand. But from a financial standpoint also, I don't know how much sense that makes. But we'll continue to look at every option. I'm not just saying we won't. We have a really good relationship with Doug Palmer. He's a great guy. He's very helpful. And so he's an expert in this field. So there's lots of times where I lean on him for questions, especially regarding the fleet and what he thinks can be done. So those are ongoing conversations. I know Andreas talks to him all the time as well. He's a great resource. Once a month, just seeing how they go.
I'm glad to hear that you're all on top of it, looking at options.
I was just gonna mention the other benefit of new versus used is we then try to get the extended warranty, or we get the extended warranty for a new bus, which is typically 7 years. So we just had a bus whose turbo went down the other day. So that's about $3,000 to replace the turbo. Any buses that are within that 7 year, then anything is covered. So turbo goes out, you just send it in, get it replaced. Engine goes out, you just get it replaced. So that's a lot less expensive, maintenance wise for us too.
Any other questions?
These are going to be one-for-one swap, though. We're not increasing our fleet.
No, we're not. Well, ideally, we need to have 25 buses because we have 21 routes and we need to have 4. I like to have 4 spare buses.
And there certainly is room for us to add another bus. We have the whole neighborhood down at I call it the Irish neighborhood, like Duncan and Mavis, and right, they're adding another 200 some houses there. They're going to be kids there that we need to pick up.
So I guess to Andreas's point, if all those houses are being built like the city has promised and they start filling them with kids, then we could be adding routes because we are at capacity.
So we're not trading any buses, I'm guessing, so we're just buying 2 new ones.
We do trade out buses, buses that are really old and that we need to get off the road. But we have to keep at least 23. We have 21 routes, so we have to keep at least 23, but I would like to have 25 buses because when a turbo goes down, you've got to have a spare bus, and then we send in athletic teams, the band, field trips. We're back to limited field trips. I mean, all those require, and you can't, your extra duty trips, like your, not as much field trips, but your athletic trips and band and like academic challenge, those are tricky because they leave before the end of the school day usually, so then that bus can't be a bus that we have on our route. So that's why when I started here in 2013 as superintendent, we had 6 spare buses. Now, mind you that 4 of those 6 buses were almost 20 years old, and they blew black smoke and they got us where we were going, but they weren't in the best shape. But it was nice because you had those spare buses and you didn't have to worry about taking a driver finishing and getting kids late to something. So our fleet every year is getting healthier, and last year due to a lot of shortage of drivers, spare drivers, and shortage of buses. We had a lot of athletic events running late, getting kids to that. We're doing pretty good this year. I mean, the flu could hit the fleet, the driver fleet, and that could all change overnight. Knock on wood, please, everyone.
We're taking zinc.
Right now, we're doing a great job. But it's not a one-to-one swap, but we still are getting rid of those older ones. All right, and then the other thing I want to talk about just very quickly, we've already talked about this before, but I am going to begin pricing out and moving forward with the installation of vape detectors in our high school and our middle school and maybe other areas as well. I'm not going to tell you where we're looking to put those, but we're going to start beginning the purchase, and Dave Clark, our maintenance supervisor, he can install those. So we are going to move forward with that. CJ did get an opinion that they are of 5-year lifespan, so we can't use PI dollars for those. So those are the two big things that I'm talking about at PI right now. Of course, none of that will happen unless you pass a resolution to move forward with them, but I just wanted to give you guys the heads up that that was coming.
I'm sure you know Maplewood installed them.
I do.
So
they're pretty cool. The principal gets a text.
yeah, I would just talk to the people that have them, make sure we're getting the right things.
No, we are. Taking care of it. It's good to know. Yeah. All right, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Dalbo. Mr. Scarsapino, Treasurer's Report.
Okay, in your content there, there's a 3-year look back at the health of the general fund from fiscal year 18 to current. As of August 31st, 2019, the general fund had a balance of $7,276,711.06. This is a negative difference of about $523,468.88 from fiscal year 19. And then when we look back to fiscal year 18, there's a negative difference of about $2,140,321.99. So again, we're still trending in a certain way, but that gap's starting to close a little bit, as you can see, from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. Again, that new levy that was passed, half of those collections don't start coming until January, February. So it's going to be like this for a little bit. We're going to continue to see that, but eventually we'll hopefully start to bolster it again like we saw in fiscal year 18.
And that, Ed, when you say that, that means with the passage of, or the renewal of these levies that are up.
Yeah, so the new levy, the new money levy that was passed in May will begin collections in 2020. So January, February is typically when we start to see that advance of those collections come in, and then we'll see it again in July where we get that. The new, or the renewals, those are going to collect through 2020. It'll be, when we renew it, it'll be for that next year after that. So it'll just keep collecting as normal. And then also with my report, I just wanted to make everyone aware, issue 7 is on the ballot. That's our 3.5 mil renewal levy. It's no new tax, generating about 1.5 million. And issue 8 is a 3.9 mil renewal levy, no new tax, generating $1.7 million.
Should highlight that no new tax rate.
Correct, it's a renewal. It's a renewal. They're just up, and we got to go out for that. So that concludes my report, Mr. Ray.
Thank you, CJ. Moving on to board reports, Mrs. Baba.
I just want to mention for the PTA that they have their next general membership meeting on November 13th, and that will be here at Duffer Intermediate starting at 6:30. And with regard to the legislative report, I just wanted to mention that some of those policy changes regarding education that were a part of House Bill 166, which is the biennial budget, those will begin taking place starting October 17th. And as you know, some of those changes relate to graduation requirements, beginning with students in the class of 2021. And I did also want to mention, because we've talked about in the past, the Academic Distress Commission, and it looked like there was some movement with the state legislature to make some changes to that, but it appears that those talks have stalled. So we'll keep you abreast of that and any developments.
Thank you. Mr. Gibson.
I have nothing to report right now.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Just a few things. So girls golf finished the season 1-8. Samantha Mill was second team all conference. Mackenzie Vian and Jenna Godomsky were named honorable mention. Boys golf finished the season with a 3-11 record. Hunter Timmons was first team all conference. JC Yusko, I said that right, and Clayton Paul were selected honorable mention. Volleyball, the section tournament game is on Monday, October 14th versus Youngstown East at West Branch. Senior night is tonight. Boys soccer, the section tournament game at Field on October 15th at 7. Girls soccer, their record finished at 11-3-1. They were undefeated in the PTC, and they are number 3 seeded in our district. They will host a tournament game on October 16th versus Crestwood at 7. This is the first time the girls soccer was the PTC champion, so big accomplishment for them. Football, their record is 6-0. They are ranked 8th in the state in D3. If you think about that, there's a lot of teams in D3 in high school, so they're doing really well. They have a tough game this Friday at Coventry, who's 4-2. Chris Riley Richardson, who's our running back, he's ranked 6th in the state with 16 touchdowns. So a lot of good things going on in sports athletics. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Violi.
Yeah, I just have a few things. Today I spent my day off at the Petalone Wagner Law Update Seminar, and I have the handouts and notes from it. If anybody would like those, I'd be more than happy to share them with you. And then I sent the Maplewood meeting notes from last month's meeting to everybody, but I just wanted to highlight something in here because I think it speaks volumes to the working relationship that Maplewood has with especially Streetsboro and the other districts. But Mr. Griffith, the superintendent, came and to the baseball field and softball field dedication last month. And while he was at the field, he took a photo of the press boxes that the students at Maplewood built. And he sent that to the teachers along with the sign that's on there so they could see all their names. It says here, Mr. Griffith expressed his appreciation to Streetsboro Board and for recognizing the contributions of Maplewood students and staff. He talked about when he spent time in the labs where he talked to the students that worked on the press boxes. They had already known about the sign from previous conversations, and they told him that they had brought their family up so they can show them the press boxes that they built and show them their name on those press boxes that are going to be there as long as the press boxes will be there. I just thought it was pretty cool that the students got really psyched about it, and it's a great deal whenever the schools can bring the Maplewood project into their facilities to do something. I think Southeast is having them build a sign, one of their marquee sign, and Maplewood, one of the prior students, put the new sign in over at Maplewood on the street. So if you get a chance to take a look at it. And next Wednesday is the All Boards dinner.
On my calendar.
Be there. It's a special menu. You'll all enjoy it. So that's all I have to report. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mr. Violi. For his first city council, congratulations to residents Marvin Woods and Justin Ring, both who recently appointed to fill the vacant seats on city council from resignations. We look forward to working with both of you. For choir, 6 students were chosen to participate in the Kent State University All-Star Choir Festival, which took place this past Sunday and Monday. Some late-breaking news from Mrs. Hepburn. She named the 6 students: Kylie Beckley, Nakai Campbell, Jordan Hartley, Nina Hagen, Matthew Maines, and Brandon McCabe. She says there were 200 high school students from around the state. 32 different school districts were represented. They had an opportunity to experience a private vocal coaching session with the voice faculty at Kent State, in addition to the choral performances. She says they rehearsed on Sunday beginning at 1 o'clock until dinner. Then students saw performances from Kent State ensembles, and bright and early Monday, that was the Kent State ensemble bright and early on Monday. The experience was inspiring for all of us, and she appreciates the opportunity for being able to go there. This video that Andres has
Hush me, my baby, the night is behind us, and
Thank you. And if possible, if we can get that on the website, so that's your teaser. You can go to the website and see the rest of it. It's about 4 minutes long, but it's a great opportunity. For the last couple of years, we really didn't hear much about our choir, and they're getting to be able to do some great things. Ross Downing and Beth Hepburn are doing some great things with our choir students. Okay, so moving on to band. Marching Rockets are continuing their fundraising efforts in preparation for Disney. That trip is this March. They are having a mattress sale fundraiser. If you have students in the district, you should have gotten a phone call from Mr. Dahlball earlier. That fundraiser is this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the high school gym. Mr. Ciula says legit mattresses and customer service for a fraction of the cost. But helping the band raise money for Disney. They also have a cookie dough fundraiser that runs through the end of October, great for the upcoming holiday season. They also were at 2 band shows, had very successful showings. Medina High School band show, they performed in a joint tribute to Mr. Ciula's father, who passed away recently, Gary Ciula. There were over 1,200 different marching band students in 10 different bands playing on the field at the same time. And they had no previous practice together. They just went out there, they did it, and they nailed it. It was great. They also were at the Aurora High School band show, known as Thunder Over Aurora. He says they really stole the thunder from this show. Although not completely a dry performance, they did get rained on, but they gave an entertaining show. Again, something that everybody enjoyed. The middle school fall band concert is Tuesday, October 15th at 7 p.m., showcasing the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade bands. And Mr. Ciula is looking forward to a smooth and successful end to the marching season as they transition to concert band season at the high school. And that's all I have. Moving on to consent agenda. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items B through Q.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I just wanted to call out the donations. There were several donations made, several for the cafeteria program and also a couple to the library program. Thank everybody for their continued support. Mr. Scarsapino, please call for the vote.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mrs. Baba?
Yes.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to superintendent's recommendations.
I have one. It's recommended the Board of Education adopt a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a master electric energy sales agreement between the district and Power for Schools endorsed electric supplier NG Resources LLC.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just quickly, I know this is under superintendent's recommendation, but I want to kind of throw out a huge shout to CJ. CJ did a lot of work, a lot of extra work, looking to secure the district one of the best deals out there for our energy consumption. And ultimately ended up working through Ohio Schools Council, who we're members with, to secure this. And CJ and I believe that we're getting one of the best deals on our electric that's out there. And this goes to CJ and his business manager's hat. He really worked hard on this. And that's why it was a late addition, because he was wanting to make sure all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. And he and I talked on the phone and he felt confident. So that's why this recommendation is in front of you.
Okay. Thanks, CJ.
Thank you. I just would like to add really quick. One very attractive thing about this is not just the pricing, but it's the organizations that are backing it. It's all organizations that we as a school district are a part of. So BASA, OASBA, I know I'm missing some of the Ohio Schools Council, which is a huge consortium in the state of Ohio, especially in Northeast Ohio, that we're a part of. We're really going to start leveraging that power through them. I think that got in the way maybe a little bit, and now we're really going to build relationships with them. I have great relationships with them. We're going to continue to try and do that. And when you have that kind of backing and their attorneys help write the deal, it gives you kind of peace of mind as a school district, because you know the people that are behind it are looking out for you. But we still did our due diligence. We still looked at a bunch of other avenues as well. And this just seems to be the move for us right now.
Good. Thank you. Please call for the vote.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Violi,
Yes.
Mrs. Baba,
Yes.
Mr. Grimm,
Yes.
Mr. Gibson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to treasurer's recommendations.
Okay, I have one. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the amended appropriations for fiscal year 20, and the estimated resources will be adjusted as needed for the permanent appropriations.
I'll move.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to catch up here. Okay, just a quick update. We approved the permanent appropriations at the last board meeting, as we have to. Couple adjustments here. The biggest one that I want to point out, we don't have to go through every single one because there's not many, but the biggest one I want to point out is we're going to receive additional funds. It's a new fund. It's the Fund 467. It's the Student and Wellness Success Fund. This was part of the state biennium budget, and it was part of Governor DeWine's initiative to help with some of the mental education and things of that nature. So we're going to be receiving those funds shortly. So we wanted to make sure we got those on our appropriations because those are going to be funds we're going to be expending. Just a couple of things about these funds. Districts have to partner with a health and wellness provider of some sort. There's a list of them I can provide you with. They're just general though. Or an ESC, which we already have a partnership with an ESC. You have to work with the ESC and have a written plan of how you plan to expend your funds. But you can supplant the funds. So if you already have positions in place for that, you can then utilize those funds to pay for that instead of your general fund. There is no guarantee that this fund is going to last longer than the biennium. So it's 2 years of funding. We're not sure if it's going to continue, but it's definitely 2 years. You do not have to, and this is one very good thing about this. They really wrote this in a way where you could supplant funds so you don't have to develop new things. It helps take some burden off the districts that are trying to do these things. And also, you don't have to expend all the funds in the same year you get them. You can let them carry over as long as you're using them for that, which is a great feature. Because now you're really building a plan kind of with these funds. So we're going to receive about $246,000 this year, and then next year, just these are estimates that were given out, so don't hold me to them, but about $348,000 about these funds. We have a plan on how we're going to move forward with them right now. The board allowed Ms. Ballball to hire guidance counselors in the district. This is a perfect opportunity for us to partner with our ESC, which we are already doing, and using these funds to help pay for that and take some of that off the general fund, which is a pretty nice chunk of this portion. Now, if we do it correctly, we could probably get 4 to 5 years of those services just from the funds we're going to get in 2 years potentially. So that saves the general fund potentially 5 years of that hardship. And we didn't have to use the general fund last year, if you remember, for that because we had state subsidy funds. So we're really getting creative on how we can take some burden off the general fund through a lot of conversation and just, going back and forth about how we can best move this district forward and still get the biggest benefit that we're trying to get for our students, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So I just wanted to highlight those 467 funds because it's something new. It's something you're going to see on the appropriations, at least for the next 2 years and probably the next 5, because we're going to try to draw that out as long as we can with it. So that was one that I wanted to point out to you. The other 3 that are on here, it's just we're having an increase in funding, so there's going to be an increase in expenditure. It's nothing big. It's with our federal grant dollars and things of that nature, which we all utilize every year. So, so that was a really nice fund that they put together. And usually when they do that, they handcuff you with what you can and can't do. They really left it open for you this time. We will have to do some reporting at year end on what we use the funds for, but it's just going to be a letter from Mike and I. We use the funds for this. This is how we did it, and this is how it's benefiting our district. And that's how we're going to move forward. So just wanted to point that out as part of the discussion.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Mr. Violi,
Yes.
Mr. Gibson,
Yes.
Mr. Grimm,
Yes.
Mrs. Baba,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Motion carries. Any new business? Any old business? Moving on to board president's recommendations. Prior to this meeting, we were sent policy revisions to review, and it is recommended the Board of Education approve the following policy revisions, and you see them on your board docs.
I'll second.
And moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mrs. Baba,
Yes.
Mr. Grimm,
Yes.
Mr. Gibson,
Yes.
Mr. Violi.
Yes. Motion carries. Item B, it is recommended the Board of Education enter into executive session to consider the appointment, employment dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of employee or official, and to consider details relative to security arrangements and emergency response protocols for a public body or a public office with no action to follow.
I'll move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Mrs. Baba,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Violi,
Yes.
Mr. Gibson,
Yes.
Mr. Grimm.
Yes. Motion carries. We are in executive session at 6:45 PM. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
And a quick little recap before we go ahead and close things off for the night. We started the meeting, if you heard, with Superintendent Mike Dalball telling the board that 2